Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today we're looking at a new and different laser engraver, and I've said in my previous videos that from now on I'm only going to be doing reviews on lasers that are new and different, like this one. What I've got here today is the Wainlux K8 Mini Ultra Portable Laser. That's a mouthful. And what's new and different about this laser is it's an all-in-one laser. It's fully enclosed. There's no assembly required, and it's totally portable. You can take this laser on the road to craft shows and the like with almost no disassembly whatsoever. Just unplug it, grab it under your arm, and go. Now, this review is not going to be like most of the other reviews that you see on YouTube. There'll be no fluff in this video whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you everything that I found as an actual user of the machine, my experience, both the good and the bad. So we're not going to be doing all of the fun stuff with the camera tricks and the music and the animated little GIFs and in the background, that all that other kind of stuff. We're not doing any of that. This is going to be a very focused review, and by the time you finish this video, you're going to know my opinion based on my experience using this laser. Now, this is a niche laser. In other words, it has a specific purpose. This laser is designed for doing small designs, such as coasters or keychains, and really anything that's under 5.1 inches or so square, or 130 millimeters is the actual workbed size. But you can fit objects up to about 7.5 by 8 inches inside the machine with the doors closed. But you can still only engrave that 130 by 130 area. Now, what I mean by a niche laser, this might be the type of laser that you would take on the go. You could literally grab this laser in one hand, walk out the door, put it in your car, go to a craft show, plug it in, and start making customized items live at the craft show, because it is an all-in-one laser with class 1 rated protective enclosure. If you were going to be doing craft shows with this laser, you would spend more time setting up your table and setting up your products than you would the laser. And if you're going to do that, I would suggest that you get the air purifier as well, which is an optional accessory for this, since that is probably going to be a requirement. Most counties in America are going to require it to truly be all-in-one and not exhaust any smoke to the atmosphere whatsoever. And don't forget, if you're going to be doing craft shows and demonstrating the laser live or making custom items live, you're going to need to check with the local county permit department or code enforcement and make sure that you don't need a permit to do this. There are lots and lots of counties and parishes in Louisiana, for example, that require a permit to demonstrate a laser engraver in public. And without this permit, you might wind up with a fine of as much as $10,000. So be careful with this if you're going to be doing any type of laser engraving in public or at craft shows. I'm going to start off this video today by giving you my overall opinion of this laser after, I guess, probably somewhere in the area of 60 hours worth of use altogether. Now, for the review video itself and the testing, the video that I shot and some of the photographs I took, was about 20 hours of testing and a few different materials. But I found that I really enjoyed using this laser, and during the holiday season I probably ran off 40 hours or so worth of different projects for gifts, like personalized coasters. That was the #1 gift that I did this year. But I also did a whole bunch of tic-tac-toe games for the grandkids, the nieces, the nephews, and I even did one tic-tac-toe game for my partner, Patrick, on another YouTube channel, the Laser Maker's Realm, for his kids. And a few other items like keychains and even some aluminum bracelets that I did for the grandkids. So before I get started, I just want to give you my overall opinion on this. And for some people, that's all they're really looking for, and they're not interested in seeing the entire video. I'll probably throw some photographs and videos up on the screen while I'm talking, so you don't have to look just at me. So let's get started. I've got all my notes right here next to me so that I can stay on track with this and not go off on a tangent. So the question is, what is my opinion on this particular machine? Well, after all the time that I've been using it, I have to say that I'm really satisfied with the results. You basically pull this machine out of the box, unpack the accessories that come with it, the sample materials, plug in a couple of cables, and you're ready to go. As far as the laser module itself is concerned, it does come with the LU4-2, I think it is, 10-watt module. So it's a very capable 10-watt laser. In fact, I used the library from the Lasermatic 10 to get all of my cut and engrave settings, and it worked perfectly. I didn't have to do a single test grid. Every setting in the library was spot on. So probably the best way to get my opinion on this laser, first off, it's overwhelmingly positive, but the best way to get my opinion is to cover the pros and the cons. So let's talk about them right here up front for those of you in a rush, and I know a lot of people only watch the first 5 or 10 minutes of a video, so this is for you. Let me get to my notes here. So let's see. On the pros list, and there's a bunch of stuff here, so let's start with #1. It is an all-in-one machine that is fully assembled, and I like that. I like the fact of getting an all-in-one machine that I can just pull out of the box, drop it on the table, plug it in, and get it to work. I also like the fact that the metal workbed is built into the machine, and that it also comes with a magnetic framing jig, which makes it very easy to line up your work from a template and run off multiple jobs in a production run scenario if you're doing a whole bunch of the same product. All you have to do is set up the framing square, get your absolute location of that corner, and I believe my absolute location in lightburn was 4 on the X and 5 on the Y, if I'm not mistaken. Design in lightburn if you wish, or you can use their software, using the absolute location of the corner of the framing square. Hit start, remove the piece when it's finished, put in another piece of material into the framing square, and hit the big repeat button on the front of the machine. It's really just that easy. I ran off this holiday season over 8 sets of coasters, so over 10 sets of coasters, so that's about 80 coasters, one after the other, without ever going back to the software. Well, that's really not true. Excuse me. Except to change the name and the monogram was the only time I had to go back to lightburn. So I guess technically I was able to run off 8 at a time by just hitting that big repeat button. Wainlux did send me the air purifier as well, making this truly an all-in-one machine that can actually be used indoors. I was fascinated by the idea that this very small air purifier, maybe 4 by 4 inches is the filter itself, and it removed almost all of the smoke, or it did remove all the smoke and almost all of the smell from the laser. In fact, it does as good a job as any other really big, really expensive air scrubber that I have here in the shop. Full disclosure, I don't know of any air scrubber under $1,500 or without a water reserve that's going to remove all of the smell. But this one certainly does remove all of the smoke and most of the smell. Number 2, focusing. I really like the fact that it focuses like a CO2. The module is fixed in place way up at the top of the cube, and there's a big knob on the side of the machine that raises and lowers the bed. And there's also a focal tool that's built into the module that's magnetic. So all you have to do is drop down the little focal tool, raise or lower the bed until you get it to the point where the focal arm is fully vertical and touching the material, and you have the perfect focus. Just flip that little focal gauge back up into the module where it magnetically connects, and you're done and ready to run your job. I would say this is probably the easiest laser in the shop that I have right now to focus. Number 3, and this goes back to the all-in-one feature that we talked about earlier, and that is it is fully enclosed and there are no safety glasses that are needed for this machine. However, I would never recommend looking directly at the laser beam through the protective acrylic, since the rating on these acrylic windows is somewhere between 97 and 99% of straight laser beams. So being that you only have one set of eyes and you don't want to take 1 or maybe 2% chance of catching one of those stray laser beams, I would absolutely recommend not looking directly at the laser beam through the acrylic, just in case you happen to catch one of those stray beams or reflections. This machine has doors both front and back that have the protective acrylic rated for a 455 nanometer blue laser, and you can see the job progress either from the front or the back. That's nice. It's not a full 360 degree view, but being able to see it front and back, I think, is good enough for me, and probably good enough for most people. Pro number 4, the ability to pause a job. One of the really nice features that you're not going to find on many laser engravers today is the ability to pause the job just by opening the door. So if you want to take a quick look without looking through the acrylic, all you have to do is open the front or the back door, and the job will automatically pause. When you're finished looking at it and you close the door, it will start again exactly where it left off. This is a great feature, and like I said, it's not available on many of the lasers today, although we'll probably see that change in 2024. In fact, I think we're going to see a lot of changes in 2024 to the diode laser market, just like we did in 2023. Number 5 is the built-in camera. It has a built-in camera. Now, this one probably goes on both the pros and the cons list, because the camera only works with the included software, CutLab X. And if you want to make use of that camera feature, the machine needs to be connected on Wi-Fi and not by USB. Which leads me to number 6, the built-in Wi-Fi. This machine does have built-in Wi-Fi that's extremely easy to use. However, it can only be used in AP mode if you're using the Web UI or Lightburn. But with the CutLab X software and the Android app, it will connect in STA mode on the network. AP mode just means that you have to connect directly to the laser's Wi-Fi, and you can't be connected to the internet at the same time. And STA mode means that the machine is actually attached to the network or your router. So you can use the internet at the same time, as well as network storage if you have that. So again, this one goes, I guess, on both the pros and the cons list if you're using Lightburn, but it's a great feature for anyone who's going to be using the included CutLab X software. I did find out that it also connects to the Web UI, or it has the Web UI built in. So you can just go to the web address of the laser in a browser and use one of my favorite Wi-Fi features, which is the Web UI, user interface. And this way you eliminate the need for USB cables. Some of you may locate the laser 15 feet away from your computer, and you don't want to buy an active USB cable and run cables all over the floor. I tested the Web UI and the Wi-Fi from about 15 or 16 feet away, and it was very responsive. And the reason that I like the Web UI is because I can do all of my designs in Lightburn and save the G-code file and then transfer that file via the Web UI to the laser. Doing it this way, I can work in absolute coordinates and take advantage of all of Lightburn's features and still use Wi-Fi, and I know that my job is going to be perfect and I don't have to frame or use a camera, which I rarely do. So this makes it very easy to use via Wi-Fi. Number 7. Wainlux has multiple power levels of laser modules to choose from. And this is probably something that nobody else is going to really talk about in the laser reviews, but you can purchase this laser in either 2.5 watt, 5 watt, or the 10 watt version. So why do I like these options? Well, if you're buying a laser just for engraving and you're doing small objects, especially really small objects, you want to be able to get the finest detail with the smallest spot size that you can possibly get. And that laser that's hanging behind me on the shelf is a 2.5 watt cantilever style laser, and it probably does the best engravings out of any laser that I own on small objects. Now, that 2.5 watt module can cut some materials. Anything that is up to about 2 millimeters thick, it'll have no problem. You can even go as high as 3 millimeters with a couple of passes. And to take it just a bit further, if you need more speed or if you need some extra cutting power and you're staying in the range of, let's say, 2 to 5 millimeter wood, for example, the 5 watt version will give you fantastic engravings because it's a single diode, as well as decent cutting ability for thinner materials. The one I have here in the shop today is the 10 watt version, which still has a really fantastic ability to engrave very small text and graphics. This one came with the LU24 10 watt module, which is probably one of the best long focus 10 watt modules on the market. I would say that it is comparable to something like the NAJ A4640, and I happen to prefer long focus modules over the short focus ones. Number 8, the included manuals. So moving up to the last and final pro, I'm going to say that there's going to be the user manuals to some degree is going to be a pro. They're quite large, maybe 5 by 7 inch pages, and easy for me to read. And everything is well detailed, or I should say most things are well detailed. Not all. Some things were left out of the manual, so I guess this is going to be another pro that is also on the cons list. But for the most part, it's got almost everything that you're going to need to know how to operate this laser from opening it out of the box, with the exception of just a couple of things that I'll talk about in a moment on the cons list. Also in the back of the manual, there is a pretty good troubleshooting guide that can help you with any problems you might have during the unboxing and the installation. Now, moving on to the cons list. Number 1 is going to be the software. And as I've mentioned, this machine comes with CutLab X as the included software. Now, if you've watched my channel and any of my videos, you'll find that I almost never use included software that comes with a laser, because there's nothing that even comes close to lightburn's functions and features. But I did test the CutLab X software, and I found that the version on the SD card didn't work at all. But I downloaded the most current version at that time. I think it was 1.1.2 from the CutLab X website, and that one did work, although I found it quite buggy and I had several crashes. CutLab X is a very basic G-code sender that doesn't have many features and really isn't well designed, nor does it have a good graphical user interface or user experience. I noticed that it's taken a couple of the features of lightburn, like the color palette at the bottom of the screen, for instance, minus the tool paths, but when it comes to the other features, it can be hard to understand and use. For instance, setting up the speed and power. It doesn't use the typical methods of speed and power identifiers that we're used to, like, for instance, millimeters per minute. And you know, what the heck is depth? Depth 1, depth 2, depth 3, depth 4. I noticed that a lot of Chinese software, especially the apps, they'll have this percentage of power and the depth. That's not something that most users are used to, nor would it be easy to set up a library for something like this, a material library. They're wanting to know how many millimeters per minute and what percentage of power, and that is the industry standard, most users anyway. So I don't know why they stray from the industry standards, but it seems to be quite common in Chinese software. I don't know what the number cut depth I should use for this machine or a particular material, and I believe that these software designers should really stick to the standards when they're creating software that other more popular software uses. There's also some other problems with the software. You can't put it into full screen mode, for example, or you'll lose some of the tabs that are on the right side that can't be resized. So you have to keep it out of full screen mode and then just drag it out to almost full screen mode so that you'll still be able to see those tabs on the right hand side, and even on the tabs they're set up kind of strange, because on those tabs there are sliders where you have to slide it over to the right to see all of the different settings. I don't know why any reasonable person would think that this would be a good way to set up the software. Clicking on the camera icon also sometimes causes the software to crash. Other times you have to click on it twice to get a clear picture of the workbed. So there are a lot of bugs in the software, and I'm guessing that maybe over time it'll get better, but that's not a problem for me because this laser is lightburn compatible, or maybe I should say G-code compatible, and you can use Laser Gerbil or any of the 5 or 6 other programs that are out there on the market to control it. But I'm going to use lightburn, and that is the only way that I plan to use it. Now, one of the things they don't tell you in the owner's manual is that you do need to install the driver from the SD card for the software to work. So that's probably something I'm going to say they need to fix in the owner's manual. And mine is a pre-release version. Maybe they've already fixed it. I don't know. Because a lot of people are not going to figure that out. Another thing that's not in the owner's manual is where the SD card is physically. The machine comes with an SD to USB card reader, but nowhere in the manual does it tell you where the SD card is. The SD card is actually inside the back door on the side of the frame, and if you don't know this, you'd probably never find it. It took me 30 minutes to figure out where this card was. I actually thought it didn't come with one. I didn't think that on a brand new machine the SD card would already be installed in the machine, especially since you'll need to install the software and the driver since they're both on the SD card. Probably a better idea would have been to put the SD card into the SD to USB card reader for the shipping, in my opinion, anyway. But if you're using lightburn and you already have a different laser installed on your computer, setting it up will be a breeze just by adding a device and putting in the work area size of 130 by 130, because you'll already have the CH340 or the 340 SER driver installed from your other laser. The driver that's included on the SD card is only for the Wi-Fi software and the CutLab X. Okay, number 2 on the cons list, and I guess this goes again on both the pros and the cons list, is going to be the metal workbed. I already listed it as a pro. Now, I love the fact that this has a metal workbed, and you can use magnets as the magnetic framing square jig that came with the machine to line up your work and hold it down. I don't like the fact that it's not designed like a typical honeycomb. This is more of slots and holes in the metal. So what happens is your material sits directly on top of the metal plate, and you get a lot of flash burn on the opposite side of the material that you're cutting, and this causes it to not cut consistently, even though it has the ability to. Now, what I found as a resolve, and actually a very simple resolve to this problem, was just taking a few regular thumbtacks, 4 or 5 thumbtacks, and dropping them onto the workbed, putting them right into the holes. And this gives the material just enough lift, just a millimeter or two. It gives it enough lift so that you don't get any of that flashback from the metal bed, and ultimately you can cut your projects much faster because having the material raised gives you, with the air gap underneath it, gives you a much cleaner and more consistent cut. So that's a simple and easy resolve that most people aren't going to figure out. So hopefully that helps you as a pro tip in this video. Number 3 on the cons list may be quality control on the assembly. And now, I know 5 different creators that have gotten one of these machines to review, so that makes 6 of us all together. And one of the 6 did have a few problems with some loose screws, and I think maybe he had to adjust the eccentric nuts. The rest of us got a machine that worked straight out of the box with no issues whatsoever. I did see one other review, somebody I don't know, that also had problems adjusting the screws, but these are really simple things that anyone can fix. And turning a screwdriver or a wrench is not a big deal. And as far as customer service goes, from Wainlux, their customer support is top-notch. These people got answers to their problems right away, and they do answer all of your emails, usually within 24 hours. And of course, that's because of the time difference between here and China. However, all of the problems that these 2 people had were simple adjustments, and they were all resolved. So that says something in itself about the company and their support. Maybe the quality control on the assembly line could be a little bit better. I don't know. I didn't have a single issue with my machine. But who knows? It could have been one of those things where the machine was put together on a Friday evening and the person was anxious to go home, or a Monday morning after a long weekend. You know how that goes. It's a problem in every electronic industry, and it doesn't matter what it is. Number 4 on the cons list. And I'm going to call this one maybe exaggerated advertising. And that is the fact that they advertise that this machine comes with an air assist. There is no, by definition, air assist that comes with this machine. The only thing that it does have is what every other diode laser module has, and that is a big fan on the top of the laser module to keep the actual diode and electronics cool during the engraving process. Additionally, there's no way that I can see to add an air assist, and that is, in my opinion, a major design flaw. I would love to see it designed where you could just add an air assist. I did find a workaround that I talked about earlier using the thumbtacks, but that's not a replacement for an air assist, and it could have been as easy as adding the proper nozzle and just running an air hose over to the side of the cabinet and a push fitting going through the cabinet. They don't even really need to include an air pump, but at least make it easy for those people who want to use an air assist, where they can just plug in their current line directly to that push fitting. And this would only add a few cents to the manufacturing costs. Being that it's an all-in-one laser, I would fully expect that it should be air assist ready at the very least. Not only does an air assist add to higher quality engravings and it helps keep the lens clean, but it also enhances the cutting ability quite a bit. Number 5 on the cons list. It also might be hard to clean the lens, and in fact I know it's a little harder than most lasers to clean, because you can't take the nozzle off unless you take off all the 4 screws that hold the bottom of the module together, and who knows what happens when you do that. And then when you're doing this in a very awkward position, because it is a fixed laser module up at the top of the cube. So as a quick hack for that, what I did was I took a Q-tip, I wrapped it in a microfiber cloth, put my cleaning liquid on it, stuck it into the hole where the lens is, and basically just carefully cleaned the lens that way several times. I have to say that it really wasn't a big problem, because the module is high enough where you can see under it and check the lens, but I would prefer to see a way to just take off the nozzle so that you can get direct access to the lens, and it would make it much easier if there was just a little grub screw that you unscrewed and took the nozzle off. Number 6, and I might be getting a little bit picky here, but I do have a problem with the exhaust. There is a proprietary hose that comes with the air scrubber that is a twist lock mechanism. And not only that, but I think it's about 2.5 inches exhaust port or something similar. Something similar maybe to a small vacuum cleaner, but without an actual protruding exhaust port, I don't see any way that you would be able to hook up an exhaust hose if you didn't have the air purifier with that proprietary twist lock mechanism. I also didn't see a way to attach a standard exhaust hose unless you're going to maybe 3D print a twist lock adapter or use some duct tape or something like that, which I wouldn't care to use on a brand new machine. In my opinion, it should have a standard 4-inch port protruding from the side of the machine. So if you didn't purchase the air scrubber, you'd be able to hook that up to any fume extractor and vent it to the outdoors. And finally, number 7, and the last one on my list, would be the work bed. I would like to see that bed have more of the features of a typical honeycomb, and not just slots and holes. And I would also like to be able to remove it from the machine for cleaning. Now, I didn't have a hard time cleaning it because of the access from both the front and the back doors, but I would still prefer if I could remove it from the machine to wash it down. It would just make, much more sense to me anyway. So, not a whole lot of cons to this machine. There are definitely more pros than there are cons, and every machine out there is going to have its pros and cons. But if you're asking would I recommend this machine based on my experience and comparing it to all of the other diode lasers that I've used, I think the answer would be that if you're in that niche that I talked about earlier in the video, and if I were doing craft shows on the weekend or a flea market, for instance, and I wanted to make personalized products live for people while they wait or shop, then I would say yes, absolutely. This would probably be my first choice for a niche market like that. Another use for this machine where I would say yes, absolutely, would be if you're doing small repetitive jobs, like coasters, for instance, or keychains, or anything that's under 5 inches square. It does have this nice feature of repeatability, and using the jig, the magnetic jig that came with the machine, it could be as easy as pulling one coaster out, dropping another one in, and then just hitting the big repeat button on the front of the machine. That's what I did this holiday season to make 10 sets of 8 coasters, and it was it went perfectly. This could be a very big time saver for people that are doing things like coasters and keychains and dog tags and really any type of small items in a production environment. Now, I know a lot of people out there are going to say, well, you can't use a 10-watt diode laser in a production environment. I see the comments coming now, and that is simply not true. For years, people have used 5-watt diode lasers in production environments, and then 10-watt became the laser of choice, and then in 2023, we saw an explosion in R&D, and we saw the 20-watt, the 30-watt, the 40-watt, and now, even this month, we're going to see a 70-watt diode laser on the market. So, yeah, maybe a big commercial shop that's going to be doing hundreds of items every day may not have a use for a 10-watt laser, diode laser. But if you know me and you know my channel, you'll know that the 10-watt diode is probably my favorite preferred laser because of the amount of detail and resolution that you can get on your material. And of course, the difference between the large commercial shop and the mom and pop craft store is going to be investment, dollars and cents. The large commercial shop is going to have, a big CO2 machine with hybrid stepper motors that are going to be, and they're going to be spending somewhere in the area of, say, $10,000 to $20,000 or more for a quality CO2 machine. But this machine is, again, for the niche market that I've been talking about, and is really, a couple of $100s. So there's a dramatic contrast between the two, and you can't really compare them. Though I know a lot of people are going to try to do so in the comments below. So I figured I'll address that now. So now, with that said, and in conclusion, I'm going to give the K8 4 out of 5 stars. And as far as an all-in-one 10-watt diode laser goes, with all the bells and whistles, I don't think that you're going to find a better machine on the market in this specialty size, especially with the fact that this laser comes with the LU4-2 10-watt module. It's something that you can depend on for long life and lots of productivity, probably somewhere in the area of about 10,000 hours, and it performs well at speeds of up to 15,000 millimeters per minute. I did see another review video online where the person said that it probably wouldn't perform at all at 15,000 millimeters per minute. But he never tested it at that speed. So I did test it at that speed, and it performed very, very well, as expected. Worked perfectly with my 10-watt library. I got very nice engraving at 100% power and 15,000 millimeters per minute on wood, and even cardstock and a couple other materials. So if you're out there looking at review videos on this machine, keep in mind that most of them are going to be fluff. Some of them are going to be reviewers that have little or no experience, and still others are not going to tell you the absolute truth about their entire experience using the machine, and they're more concerned with making the affiliate sales and the little percentage of money that you get from people watching the videos who actually buy the machine. This is one thing that I pride myself on, and that is doing real world testing and reporting to you a real world experience with the machine, so that you can know what to expect if in fact you do buy one. So with that said, I do have below the video some links in the description if you're interested in finding out more or perhaps buying one of these machines. And if you do decide that you want to buy one of these machines, you can help to support the channel by using one of those affiliate links. I get a small commission from the sales, and it helps support the channel so that I can bring you more and better videos in the future. Keep in mind that this video was not a paid endorsement for the product. This was an honest review where I shared with you my experience using the laser. And while I did get the machine at no charge, the company had no input or preview as to what appears in this video whatsoever. I hope you enjoyed this video today as much as I enjoyed making it for you, and I hope you like my new format of doing review videos, and I hope that I was able to answer as many questions as I possibly could about this particular laser engraver. And as always, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.